What did you think? Is this thing on? Can you hear me? Oh, now you can hear me. It's so funny because we're in the green room and I didn't think we could see it, and then we heard it and I'm like, oh, I kind of want to see it again. And so we turned it on, and it's so fun reliving it because, well, for me, I don't know about him.
Yeah.
So for those of you who came in the middle, I'm Karen Mahorn, aka The Blurred Girl. I'm integrated marketing lead over at Line Forge Entertainment. And this is Roye Okupe, the creator, executive producer, and showrunner on the Iyanu series. And the show, you saw the first 3 episodes. There's 10 episodes in the first season. You can actually stream them now on Max. And every Sunday this summer, actually starting this weekend at 3:30 p.m. on Cartoon Network. Check your local listings. You can see the show. They're just rerunning the show actually on Cartoon Network until the end of the summer when our movie comes out. And that's going to be dropping also on Cartoon Network and Max. So I'm so happy that you guys were all able to see it. What we're gonna do is have a brief conversation about what it was like making the show and developing it from the comic books, because Roy's also the creator of the comics. And then I just want to let everybody know that we really do want to have more of a Q&A with you all and a back and forth. So in just a few minutes, I'm going to ask people to line up and ask us questions. So get your questions ready. And I think there's 2 mics. I got to light my face. Is one mic or 2?
2.
There's 2. Okay. So be sure to stand at those so that we'll be able to hear your question. So Roye.
Yes.
Take us back to when you first created the first Iyanu comic. What was that? 2018, 2017?
Honestly, I don't even know.
What is time?
What is time? Yeah.
Time is relative.
2019 is when I created it. 2020 is when it was released on Kickstarter.
Okay, right. And then it broke Kickstarter.
Yeah, kind of, yes.
The first
did very well on Kickstarter. Very well on Kickstarter.
And that wasn't your first comic book?
No, that was my 10th comic book at that time. Yes, graphic novel.
Graphic novel.
Yeah.
And for those who might not know, what is the difference between a graphic novel and a comic book?
I mean, they're essentially the same thing, but graphic novels typically are anywhere from 60 pages and up. So my books typically run around 120 pages.
Got it. And you're just kicking these out every year on Kickstarter.
I was trying to get to a point where I could tell my own stories the way I wanted to tell them, and also have the freedom to do what I felt like I wanted to see out there. And at that point, this was even before I got the Dark Horse deal, at that point, self-publishing on Kickstarter was basically a savior for my career because I took my ideas everywhere and pretty much I got no from almost everybody.
Because they couldn't understand your vision?
You said it, I didn't.
Well, the other part, and the only other thing to say is they don't understand Black characters, they don't want to see them on the screen. But that's different.
You said it. I did not see that.
So, okay, briefly take us how we got from graphic novels.
Yes.
Because just so I'm clear, you have Unique Studios.
Correct.
And Unique Studios, what's the connection with Dark Horse Comics with Iyanu?
Yeah, so Unique Studios, that is my company. It's a multimedia entertainment company that I started to produce my graphic novels, and I did that with the hope of one day getting into animation and live action. But in 2020, somebody from Dark Horse approached me, and they said they wanted to go into a partnership at that point in time. And I remember one of the things that was very attractive to them is that I'd been releasing my graphic novels consistently for over 5 years. And I had, like I said, 10 of them. So I think it was an easy bet for them to come in as a partner. So now they publish the books. Obviously, Unique Studios still creates, the graphic novel, and Dark Horse handles the publishing, the distribution, the marketing. But yes, they've been amazing partners for us.
And you've written all of the graphic novels,
yes, every
correct?
single one of my graphic novels I wrote.
But you were not the artist.
I suck at drawing anything, unfortunately.
So you work, okay, so tell us where you found your artists. And let's start with book one. And I know you have multiple different artists, but
Yes.
of the team, where did you find them all?
So for those that don't know, I was born and raised in Lagos, Nigeria. I came to the US in 2002. So for me, when I started working on graphic novels, I really wanted to hire artists from back home. In the case of Iyanu, before that I had, like I said, plenty of other books that I had worked with different artists. Iyanu's case, on volume one, I worked with an artist called Gordon Akpan, who very fortunately also became the art director on the show. So Godwin illustrated the first book, and then Chimakalu did the lines on the second one, and Gordon did the colors. Same thing for volume 3. And then volume 4, a gentleman named Sukomi Akimboye did the lines, and then Toyin Ajetumobi, he did the colors. And like I said, all of them are native to Nigeria. They do live in Nigeria. They're all Nigerians. And I think it's, for us as a collective, it's a very proud moment to be able to, as Nigerians, create something that is now being adapted on TV and screens like people are seeing all over the world.
And one of the reasons, Godwin did the cover of 4, though, right? Or am I wrong?
Yeah, so Gordon, he painted the cover. Sukomi did the lines for the cover of the book.
And by the way, all these comics that we're talking about are available in the gift shop. And right after this, you're going to be able to buy your copies and have Roy sign them right out in front. So if anybody's going to ask a question, now would be the time to start getting in front of those mics, because I only have a few more questions for Roy. One of the reasons why Godwin's busy was because he was working on the series. So let's talk about how you went from Dark Horse Comics to Lion Forge and basically the animated series.
Yeah, so after the book was released, actually before Iyanu Volume 1 was released, I met a very, very, I would say, I don't want to use the word, what should I use to describe Erica?
Venture capitalist?
Yes, yes.
I mean, we can just say, I was going to say like rich, but okay. Venture capitalist.
Yeah, Erica works with a firm called Impact X, which like I said is a venture capitalist firm, but their focus is pretty much on trying to empower Black creatives around the world. So she saw the graphic novel and she was like, we need to make this into an animated series. So Erica Motley was the person that introduced me to Lion Forge, and that led to the introduction to Cartoon Network, and the rest, as they say, is history.
It's history.
Yeah.
So, and just for show of hands, people in here, who has heard about Hair Love, the animated short that won an Oscar? Okay, so Lion Forge, the company that I work with, they're the ones that executive produced that. We didn't do the animation, that was Sony, but we executive produced it. So they were looking for another show. So it was also kind of synergy because Dave Stewart II, who owns Lion Forge, also knows Erica Dupuis, who was the person that you met. So it was the right time and the right project.
Yes, I believe at that point in time, Lion Forge, they wanted to do something that was long form. So like you said, Hair Love was a short film, which was fantastic, obviously, because they won the Oscar, but I believe, not that I believe, I know that what Dave wanted to do next was long form. And I had met Dave years ago because we were trying to do something together in the publishing realm. It just never worked out, but that relationship was something that was already established. So by the time we met up for the Iyanu animated series, it was just, like you said, it was a match made in heaven. Everything just aligned, and I feel very lucky and fortunate to have partnered with Lion Forge.
So in terms of the process of animating a show,
yes,
how would you rate the stress level?
You know what? I think there's nothing good that comes easy. I was going to give an analogy and say it's like being pregnant. I'm not a woman, so I'm just going to stay with that. It can be very stressful, but I think, and this is just personal experience, I think it's one of the most rewarding journeys because you get to work with so many talented people. Obviously, I mentioned Gordon Akpan, but the sheer number of people it takes to bring what you saw on the screen is ridiculous. You're talking about hundreds of people in different continents. We had someone in every continent, I believe, except Australia and Antarctica. Is that a continent?
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Yeah, I
Okay,
mean,
yeah.
the shorter list is basically of who wasn't tapped.
Yes.
So Lion Forge works with basically all their artists are all over the world. It's not like they have one central location where all the artists work. And also, I think the show kind of got started in the middle of the pandemic, right?
Correct, yes.
So they couldn't have a bunch of people in a space at one time. The pandemic seems so far away now, but
Yeah, like I said, what is time? Right?
yeah, I know, time is a construct.
Yeah.
So now that it's done and it's out, like, have you had a moment to like enjoy this? Like this first season ended in premiered in April 4th, and then it ended a few weeks ago, and now we're looking forward to the movie.
Yes.
And tomorrow, the show premieres on Showmax in 44 African
Absolutely.
countries.
Yes.
And after that, it premieres July 3rd in England on ITVX.
Correct.
And so it's sort of Iyanu's world tour, is what we're calling it. How does that feel?
Well, you asked me if I've had a moment to absorb it. I was going to say no because you keep dragging me everywhere. So, but
Because we have to promote it.
on a more serious note, look, to be honest, I feel like, and I'm not just saying this. I wake up every morning, and we talked about how stressful it is. I still feel like one of the luckiest people on the planet. This is a huge privilege to be in a position to create something. I mean, I grew up on Cartoon Network as a child, and to be able to be in a position to produce something on the network that's doing very well on the network, I'm very grateful. My goal now is obviously not only to continue to create excellence with Iyanu, but in whatever way I can, encourage the next generation of creators, filmmakers, especially people that are of African descent, to be able to encourage them to really tell you guys that it's actually possible. Like, if I can get to this point, I believe that people that also want to be here can as well.
I completely agree. Yes, we should have brought that. So we are going to start taking questions in a moment. The first thing I'm going to say, though, before we do that is, Roye's being very, very humble. But he's worked very, 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 very hard on this. And even though Lion Forge is not Disney. We're not Pixar. It's not a huge company. So a lot of us kind of have to wear a lot of hats. And Roye has been very patient and it's been a journey. And, but I just want to personally say how impressed I am with you, because years and years and years ago when I had a little blog called The Blurred Girl, this is one of the first comics.
Right? Yeah.
I don't think I discovered you.
You are one of the yes, you are one of the first, if not the first, media, because you are obviously, as the Blurred Girl, you had your own media outlet to really say, this guy actually is talented. No one had told me that.
I did not know. I need to ask for a bigger chance.
And then I started stalking.
I'm doing this wrong. I'm clearly doing this wrong.
It is the truth.
Well, thank you. And also, for those of you who want to see more of Iyanu, I don't want to forget, you can watch it on Max. You can stream all 10 episodes on Max right now. If you want to wait and watch it on cable, again, 3:30 on Sundays, all summer is when they're airing all 10 episodes. And there is our movie, or the movie Iyanu, Age of Wonders, picks up right after. It's a prequel, actually, to the season 1. And we don't want to give it away because some of you haven't seen it. And that will come out in the fall. So thank you so much. Now let's get to some of these questions. I'm going to start over here. Hi. Oh, that mic is really high. Can we help her? It's like over her head. And don't forget, we're definitely having a signing after we answer some of these questions. So please, go to the bookstore and buy the book.
Hi.
Hi,
Hello.
There we go. How are you?
My name is Nicole. I'm a part-time illustrator. Thank you so much for being here. I am from Ghana, so seeing something like this, seeing something like this come to life is like really inspirational. I've worked on a couple of graphic novels in the past with writers, and I'm curious to know about your process. Like, once you have the script and you see the art, does the art influence the script, or is your script set in stone and then your artists are collaborating with you in that way?
That's a good question. I was going to make a joke about jollof rice, but I'm just going to leave that for the lobby.
Every
Not
time, every time we meet a Ghanaian, he's like, jollof rice? No, we rule. I'm like, oh my God.
But to answer your question, that's actually a very good question. So the way I work is I take a lot of time, as much time as I can, to write the script, rewrite it, and rewrite it again. Because I think clarity for an artist is gold, right? You never want to leave them guessing. But what's also very important to me is collaboration. So I always let my artists know, here's what I'm thinking, but you have the freedom to make alterations. Just let me know what you want to alter, and let's have a dialogue. Because I think for me, and it's a lot of stuff that we've done on Iyanu as well, I think collaboration is where the magic really happens, right? Because you may be thinking about something one way as a writer, because your brain is working in some capacity. But then an artist looks at something with fresh eyes, and he can either expand, contract, or figure out an alternative way to get the same message across. So for me, I'm very flexible. The writing is never done until it's gone to the printer. Honestly, that's just the way I see it. So because, like I said, for me, collaboration is really where the magic starts to happen. So I always encourage people, not just in the comic book sphere, but even like with animation as well too, because you're working with directors, you're working with producers, you're working with artists, you're working with character designers, storyboard artists. Everybody you want to encourage people to bring themselves into the project. And I think the best way to do that is give flexibility for people to express themselves without feeling fearful of doing so.
Thank you.
Thanks for your question. Let's go over here. Hey, I know you.
You're not allowed to ask a question.
Yes, he is.
Just kidding.
Sharice is our production assistant. That's why we're laughing.
I wanted to know, why was a leopard chosen for Akun of all the animals?
That is a very good
Wow.
question. I don't think anybody's ever asked that.
Yeah, it's a good question. Funny thing, no one has ever asked me that question, so that's a good question. I was on social media one day, and then I saw there was this picture of a leopard that had spots that were like very faint. It had like gray spots, and I'd never seen that before. And to me, that image always stuck in my head. So when I started creating Iyanu, I knew I wanted her to have a spirit animal. And that was just the thing that came into my head. I was like, oh, instead of having gray spots, I'll just give it blue spots. Or how about it glows? Or how about it fires magic out of it, and then it just got out of hand, period. So it wasn't really a thing that it was just an image that was stuck in my head, that the moment I figured out, okay, I want Iyanu to have a spiritual guide, that image just popped into my head, and that's it.
Thank you.
You like it? That was a good question.
It was a very good question, actually.
Go ahead.
Hello, everyone.
Hi.
My name is Shinaza. I was born here, but I also grew up in Nigeria.
Yes, and you eat the correct jollof rice, so yes, good.
Oh my goodness.
I'm not going to let that
Um, so I'm an artist and filmmaker myself, and I am deeply entrenched in my own Igbo cosmology. So
Awesome.
it's amazing to see like Yoruba cosmology seen like on the Western screen.
Yes.
My question is, so this is like pure African cosmology imposed on Western media. And personally, like from my experience, I don't think that majority of like the Western collective is fully able to interact with African stories or indigenous stories in the full depth that they are, beyond spectacle, because it requires a different mindset, a different framework to fully understand it. So I'm wondering where you are in your career. What do you find yourself having to make compromises to make your work more sort of digestible? Or if so, where and how do you make those compromises? And where do you stand your ground to say like, no, I'm not changing this?
That's another good question. Stop pushing this fly to me.
No, I'm sorry. I wore the wrong colors. I think he thinks I'm flowers, and I can't.
Yeah, I mean, that's a very good question because, like you said, I think first of all, stuff like Black Panther helped, right? Because before Black Panther, it wasn't cool to do something like this. I mean, it wasn't like things like this didn't exist, but Black Panther puts this type of fantastical storytelling from an African perspective in a different light, where people were now seeing that, oh wait, it's possible to actually have Africans acting like Africans, dressed like Africans, behaving like that, and then for a global audience to absorb it in a way where they actually enjoy consuming that content. But still, it's an uphill battle, right? Because like you said, there's a lot of nuance when it comes to African culture. First of all, Africa is not a country, right? So there's 54 countries. You look at a country like Nigeria, where people mostly know about Yoruba, Hausa, and Igbo, but there's over 300 sub-tribes and dialects, as well. So there's a lot of depth in our culture. And for me, I wouldn't use the word compromise. One of the things that I had to figure out a way to do well was explain why it is necessary not to make this change here, and explain why it's beneficial to be specific culturally as opposed to making it watered down. Because then what is the point of actually doing something like this if you're going to, like you said, make compromises? And I think it's also about finding the right partner. So for me, Lionforge, from the get-go, they wanted to do it the right way, right? People don't have that all the time, right? There are certain people that want to just ride the wave of like, oh, it's cool to do African stuff now, so let's just, like you said, do a version of this and water it down. So I think it's important to have the right partner, and it's very important to stand your ground. Because for me, I don't want to go back home and people throw tomatoes at my face and be like, what the hell did you do here and there?
But I, from this perspective, watching it, I mean, you did. I've never seen an Egungun ceremony.
Yeah, and I mean, for those that don't know, Egungun, those are the masquerades. You see them like literally, we opened the show with like some of the most cultural elements in terms of like talking drums, the music, the chants, like the show actually opens with somebody singing in Yoruba, speaking Yoruba. That's literally how the show opens. So to me, I think it's more important to find a way to do it in a way where you don't exclude your audience, because that's also important. Like, there's ways to communicate culture in a way that people may not understand what they are watching, but they can feel the intention. Like, so when the woman is singing Yoruba, like her voice and her tone, you can tell that she's offering praise and exaltations. I don't have to know what she's talking about, but I know what she's trying to do. So it's about finding creative ways to stay true to the culture, but doing it in a way that doesn't alienate other people that don't understand the culture.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Let's go to this side.
Hi, Roy. How you doing?
Hello.
My name is Calvin. Congratulations on doing this. I know you have about a couple universes in your head.
Yes, just a couple.
Just a couple. So my question, I had like 3 questions to ask you about, boiled down to one. In the unique universe, would Iyanu ever meet Malika?
Wow. Oh, here we go with this question.
Can we answer this without spoiling season 2?
Yeah, you see, I'm going to decline to answer that question. And I think in declining, I've
Because I
also
said the
answered
word spoil.
question. So I'm just going to leave it there.
Thank you.
Can we say possibility?
Yes, I guess we can say
There's
possibility.
a possibility.
Good to know.
Let's go back over here.
Hi, Roy. My
Hello.
name is Nia Clark. I'm a screenwriter working on a TV series based on Odinala, so it's an honor to meet
Nice.
today. My question is, how were you able to accomplish being a showrunner on your first televised project?
Wow. I always have to tell the short version of this.
Yeah, I was like, okay, we can't say.
Yeah, so okay, here's what I'll say. I always tell people that I feel like life would, more often than not, I'm not going to say always, it's going to give you an opportunity. And it's up to you to be prepared for that moment. Because a lot of times, I think, especially for people like us, we get rejected so much. We get looked down on. We have to work 2, 3 times as hard. So a lot of times we don't expect good things to happen to us. And I'm talking from experience as well. But I always try to tell people that, like, if you keep doing it long enough, I feel like life will give you an opportunity, a window will come, and then the worst thing you can do is not be prepared. So going into this, it was very hard for me to be put in a position as showrunner because even though I knew I was ready, I didn't have the experience, I didn't have the credits, but there was a point within production where there was an opportunity for me to step up into that role. And because I had spent the last 10 to 15 years preparing to be a showrunner, the moment I got the opportunity, I was ready to do it. So it's going to work different for everybody else. Like I always tell people, run your own race. The way I got there is not the way you're going to get there, but you have to be prepared the moment you see the opportunity to be able to take it. That's not the time to start going and Googling, how do I be a showrunner? That's something you should do 5 years before that opportunity comes. So the only thing that I can say is stick with it and be prepared. Like if somebody gave you the opportunity and opened the door, like would you be ready to do, would you have all the resources? Like would you have all the preparedness to be able to step into that? And if your answer to that question is yes, just keep working and that moment will come, hopefully.
I also want to add something to that really quick. I forgot to mention that Lionforge is a Black-owned company.
Yes.
And so one of the main things that Dave Stewart is all about is pairing people who have not had that much experience with people who have.
Yes.
So when you look at the credits, you saw a lot of supervising director, supervising art director. That's because I'm thinking of Godwin. Like Godwin had never art directed a series either.
Correct.
But the supervising director was Shaf Coker.
Yes,
And
he was a consulting art director.
Yeah, consulting,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So, and he worked on Kazazi.
This fly
This
really
fly
loves
is
you.
killing me. Shaf worked on Kazazi Moto Generation Fire. He worked on Iwaju. He worked on a lot of different things. So I'm giving that as an example, not to detract from what Roy was saying, because I don't think anybody else could have showrun this, because they didn't understand the story. They didn't. Me as an African American, I can read and learn everything about the Yoruba traditions, but I can't speak the language. I don't know some of the cultural nuances. So he had to be the showrunner. There really wasn't any other way to do it. But at the same time, Lionforge is that type of company. And I think this fly, oh my God. This fly is not a paid actor. I will say that Lionforge, like other Black-owned production companies, I think years ago we would say, oh, well, you kind of really want to take it to Disney or Marvel. Now, because Hollywood, and many Hollywood artists are creating their own production companies, and people are going to Black production companies more. So I would say also try to look for where your flowers are going to get watered, Absolutely. That's my other answer to that. Okay.
That's amazing. Thank you both.
You're welcome. Is a question over here or over here? Oh, okay.
It's right there.
See, people be fighting with this mic. Like I'm fighting with this fly.
You hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh, wow. Hi.
Hello.
Hi. My name is Patty. I'm actually an animator, and I have been an animator for almost 2 decades.
Oh, wow.
And I can relate to a lot of what you said about like getting into animation and the production, and especially with other creatives of color in the industry, because I don't know if you're aware, people of color in the animation industry is very small. Like, I think there was a statistic where it's roughly 3% of the entire animation industry has people of color. So it means a lot for you to even have a show like this. I saw a familiar name, Saxton Moore. He's the reason why I know about this film and why I started networking with other Black animators as well. So my question is, what has your experience been with not only working on the show, but also working with other creatives of color? Like, was it an experience that was very soulful and connecting versus just any other, any other gig or?
Yeah, I mean, that's a really good questions. It was, to me, it was very rewarding. Because like you said, I don't always like to play the victim card because I've always been one to just say, look, just continue to put in the work. And like I said, hopefully one day you get the opportunity. But I can't deny the fact that, it is harder for us. And it's getting easier because of companies like Lionforge, because like she said, they are actively looking for people of color. And not just to give handouts, there's a lot of talented people like us looking for work, and Lionforge is intently going out to find them. But back to the process, for me, it was very gratifying to have, a black supervising director, a black art director, a black composer, a black showrunner, like, especially because of the subject matter. To me, I mean, it just made sense. So yes, it was gratifying, but even more gratifying was getting to work with creators of color and other creators from all walks of life coming together under this banner of this, West African girl, who is going on this, very, very intimidating journey, and just being able to be all in sync. To me, that is the joy of animation, right? Is being able to come together with a bunch of people and create cartoons that bring joy to everybody around the world. So yes, it was fun working with, with black creators and seeing more black creators than I've ever seen on any other project under this one. But even more rewarding was getting to work with all sorts of people from all walks of life. We had, like I said, we had people in Argentina, we had people in the UK, in France, in Paris. We had people obviously in Africa. We had, people in Asia, and everybody was all united to really create the best possible animation. So it was a very, very rewarding and very, very pleasant experience.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So I think that is going to be our last question, but if you have more, Roy's going to be right outside signing his graphic novel. We want to thank you all for coming to this screening, and please tell everybody you know about Iyanu. Tell them to stream it on Max, watch it on Cartoon Network. You can see, if they need a taste, the whole first episode is actually up on the Cartoon Network YouTube channel. And second episode is on our channel.
On the Iyanu series channel.
And also a lot of the clips are up there too. I know my niece is watching the clips on repeat in her house. So please tell everybody and please support the show. We do have a season 2, but we want a season 3 and we want more movies and things like that. Thank you all so much. And thank you, Schomburg, for having us. We are actually going to be here on Saturday as well for the festival. We're going to be having at 4 o'clock on Saturday, we're going to be back here having another discussion about taking comics, more in depth, taking comics to production. We're going to be talking to another creator there too. So thank you all so much for coming, and please come get your book signed. Now I'm going to go find a fly swatter.
That was hilarious.
Oh my God, it attacked